Today, we're setting sail on the RMS Titanic, the most luxurious ship of its time, to dive into an intriguing scenario. What if the Titanic had sunk in warmer waters? How would that have changed the outcome of one of history's most infamous maritime disasters? Let's jump right in. First, let's set the stage for our journey. The Titanic, as we all know, was the crown jewel of the White Star Line, launched in 1912. It was an engineering marvel, boasting opulent interiors, grand dining rooms, and even a swimming pool. On its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York, the ship carried over 2,200 passengers and crew, including some of the wealthiest people of the time, as well as immigrants seeking a new life in America. The North Atlantic waters where the Titanic met its fate are notoriously cold, with temperatures often near freezing. On the night of April 14, 1912, the sea was a frigid 28 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 2 degrees Celsius. When the Titanic struck an iceberg and began to sink, the icy water played a significant role in the tragedy. Hypothermia quickly set in for those who ended up in the water, drastically reducing their chances of survival. But let's consider a different scenario. Imagine the Titanic took a southern route through warmer waters, away from the iceberg-laden North Atlantic. How might that have changed the course of history? In this alternate timeline, the Titanic navigates through waters with temperatures around 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 21 degrees Celsius. This shift in environment introduces several crucial changes to the disaster's outcome. First and foremost, the immediate threat of icebergs is significantly reduced. The Titanic's fateful collision with an iceberg would likely never have happened. However, for the sake of our exploration, let's assume that despite navigating warmer waters, the Titanic still encounters an unforeseen disaster, such as a collision with a derelict ship or submerged wreckage, causing similar damage to what actually occurred. With the Titanic taking on water, the lifeboat situation remains a critical issue. As in the real event, the ship doesn't have enough lifeboats for everyone on board, a tragic oversight that led to the loss of many lives. However, the warmer water temperatures bring a significant change in the survival dynamics. When the Titanic's crew begins evacuating passengers, the relatively mild weather and warmer water offer a stark contrast to the icy conditions of the North Atlantic. Passengers and crew who end up in the water have a much higher chance of surviving longer before succumbing to hypothermia. In 60 to 70 degree water, the average person can survive for several hours, compared to just a few minutes in near freezing temperatures. Think about it. What if you were one of those passengers? Instead of facing the immediate life-threatening cold, you'd have a fighting chance to stay afloat and be rescued. How different would that experience be? This extended survival time means that those in the water have a greater chance of being rescued by lifeboats. In the original disaster, many lifeboats were launched only partially filled. In warmer waters, these lifeboats might have had more time and better conditions to return to the scene and pick up additional survivors. Moreover, the initial panic and chaos that ensued when the Titanic struck the iceberg might be somewhat mitigated. Warmer weather could mean calmer seas and clearer skies, allowing for more effective communication and organization during the evacuation. Crew members and passengers might have been able to work more efficiently to load the lifeboats, knowing that the immediate threat of freezing to death wasn't as pressing. Another significant factor is the potential response time from nearby ships. In the actual disaster, the RMS Carpathia was able to arrive at the scene around 2 hours after the Titanic sank, rescuing over 700 survivors. In our warmer water scenario, the distress signals sent out by the Titanic might still attract rescue ships, but those in the water could survive longer, increasing the number of people saved by the time help arrives. The warmer conditions might also impact the psychological state of the passengers and crew. The extreme cold in the real event added to the terror and urgency, but in a warmer climate, people might remain calmer and more hopeful. This mental state could lead to more organized and rational behavior, potentially saving more lives. Now, let's talk about those personal stories. Many of the survivors of the Titanic spoke of the unbearable cold and the sense of hopelessness it brought. In warmer waters, we might hear different tales. Stories of survival, of people holding on and waiting for rescue with a fighting spirit. The human connection, the will to survive, and the bonds formed in those desperate hours would be different. And let's explore the broader implications of this scenario. If the Titanic had sunk in warmer waters with a higher survival rate, the immediate aftermath would look very different. While public outrage and scrutiny over the lack of lifeboats and inadequate safety measures would still be significant, the narrative might shift more towards the heroism and effective rescue efforts. Survivors' stories would focus more on the extended time in the water and the eventual rescue, rather than the stark horror of freezing temperatures and the rapid onset of hypothermia. This could influence the way the disaster is remembered and commemorated, highlighting the resilience and bravery of those who survived. The White Star Line would still face intense criticism for the inadequate number of lifeboats and other safety shortcomings. However, the increased number of survivors might lead to a more balanced view of the company's response, with an emphasis on lessons learned and improvements made. Culturally, the Titanic's story would still capture the world's imagination, but with a slightly different tone. Movies, books, and documentaries would focus on the dramatic rescues and the extended survival in the water, creating a narrative of hope and endurance alongside the tragedy. In this alternate history, the Titanic disaster still serves as a powerful lesson in the importance of maritime safety, but it also becomes a story of survival against the odds. The warmer waters not only change the immediate outcome, but also shape the legacy of the Titanic, highlighting both the fragility and resilience of human life. So, what do you think? How different would history be if the Titanic had sunk in warmer waters? Would the lessons learned be the same, or would the focus shift to different aspects of the disaster? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating what-if scenarios. Until next time, stay curious and keep dreaming big.